But not surprising given what I've seen from Kevin in the past. I've said it before. I think he's the most skilled basketball player I've ever seen. The game just comes so easily for him, and a long layoff like that doesn't seem to bother him. And he was brilliant tonight. Obviously, just shifted the game as soon as he got on the floor.
LeBron has had such great leadership.
Holy moly, Jimaboli!
What is up? It's the King's Court. How the heck was everybody's weekend? Ryan in Sacktown with you. Yes, it is a Ry-doe Monday. Kevin Durant, heard about him at the top of the show. Certainly, we'll be talking about Team USA. We got people glossing themselves already in the chat. You know what? We're going to break format right now. We're going to go right to Tin. Tin, welcome in today, dude. How you doing?
Hi, Ry-doe. Am I muted or can you hear me?
I got you loud and clear, brother.
All right. You probably heard the yawn too. But hey, thanks for allowing me to the stream. And just let me allow to say, I expected Grant to be on here, but hi, Ry-doe. And I think that the addition with DeMar DeRozan, of course, he's known as the mid-range. Now, I didn't really follow his career, although he is a veteran. But a mid-range is unbeatable. I feel like that's the highest percentage. 3-point is a risk. Got to be skilled. Inside, you got to attack the big guys. So for DeRozan, I feel like he's going to add a dynamic to this Kings team that could take them further than the first round of the playoffs, hoping.
Solid take, Tin. Grant will be here at 5, and then Grant and I will be together at 8 o'clock. DeMar does bring the mid-range game. We know that. Also brings the ability to get to the free throw line. The Kings last year, they were 27th in 2-point attempts, yet 9th in 2-point percentage. So DeMar is certainly going to improve that percentage, no doubt. And I think it takes some of the burn rate, I've said it a lot, Tin, off of Domantas Sabonis, off of De'Aaron Fox. It allows another guy that you can kind of run the offense through and maybe get some cleaner looks for guys like Keegan Murray, Kevin Huerter, etc.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, appreciate you, Tin.
Okay.
Good call by Tin. Kicking off the show. What's up, everybody? Check in. Let me know where you're at. You notice the voice coming back a little bit. Although I wish the voice would have stayed. I kind of liked the deeper, the raspy voice. No more, but we've got a lot to talk about. We've got the Olympics going strong. Did you watch any of that over the weekend? I took in some Olympics. I have some thoughts. Obviously, Team USA rolls over Serbia 110-84. I was worried at the beginning of the game. Anybody else a little bit worried when Serbia went up 10-2 on the USA? But what we've talked about with Team USA held true. Nobody can play with them in transition. And Kevin Durant, you can see why he might be the best Olympic basketball player of all time. Sam Amick wrote an article in The Athletic about it. Tell me that he's not. I mean, if the USA wins gold, there's a pretty damn good argument there. 4 Olympic teams. He scores 23 and 17. USA shoots the heck out of the basketball. But the defense, did you notice Derek White got some early run in that game? Not surprised by that because the defense was getting eaten up in the half court. Bogdan cutting back door, Jokic slicing them up. But then Team USA does what they do. They start off their Olympics with a bang. We've got a ton of football as well. If you want to go that way, we can talk training camps. They are in full swing. Trent Williams, is he going to get his contract? To me, Niners, you got to take care of that first. Jordan Love, Tua, both get paid. We talked about a little bit of that on Friday. And here's the question of the day, by the way, because we've been talking about what's next for the NBA, right? And the rights deal, it was done, but now there's a little bit of murkiness there, should we say, because TNT is now, or TBS, is suing the NBA. We talked about that on Friday. We can go over that a little bit more in a minute. By the way, Boogie Ellis, shown right below me, that's because the Kings signed him to a 1-year training camp contract. Now, that 1 year means it is not guaranteed. He's going to be competing for one of the open spots right now on the roster. In fact, the only open spot for the Kings. So we'll talk about Boogie here in a little bit. But getting back to the question of the day, I'm going to ask you, if the Kings didn't exist, who would be your NBA team and why? I'm just curious. Now, some of you, I know which way you're going to break because you already have a team outside of the Kings, i.e. Patrick. He's a Knicks guy. But if the Kings were not in existence, who would you choose as your team? And to my other point about the media deal, next up for the NBA, once that is squared away, is expansion. You can almost bet that Seattle is going to be one of the cities that is nearly a lock, I would say, for a new team. And then also Las Vegas. A lot of rumors around LeBron James, him being an owner, etc. But with expansion comes the expansion draft. So remember, the expansion draft, teams can protect 8 players. So if there was an expansion draft tomorrow, and there's some rules around it, we'll go over it here in a little bit. Who would not be protected by the Kings on this roster right now? And remember, I'm going to lay out the rules for that. You just can't say the last 4 guys on the roster are open and available. But let's get to the chat. I saw that Adam is already glossing here on a Monday. Now, Adam, let me ask you this. Did you go to the courthouse and change your name from Adam to the Casual Guy? So how does that work? Is first name Casual, second name Guy? Is it the and Casual's your middle name and Guy is your last name? Help me out, Adam. But new branding starts today. He's formerly known as Adam. If you guys don't know, Adam is looking to launch a podcast, get up in the game with the rest of us. Good for you, Adam. Happy for that. I guess if everybody wants to call you the Casual Guy, you can be the Casual Guy. Why not? I mean, sometimes, and I'm not trying to take this from Romy, a lot of times these nicknames and glosses, they're organic. Like, for instance, you guys might wonder why we call corn dog. Here's what happened. We were on an 8 o'clock show with Napes and I, and Corn Dog calls up, and Grant's like, Corn Dog, welcome in tonight. I'm like, Grant, you just called him Corn Dog, and I had to drop like a little fat rant on him. And so that is how he is, Corn Dog. But Adam is the Casual Guy. Thumbs up there. What's up, Coconut? I didn't mean to rhyme that. Let's go. Yes, indeed. Let's go. Steely, what's up? How have you been? Things have been well on this end. I hope you had a great weekend as well. And yes, we're going to have a fun show. Again, did you take any Olympics in? Now, remember, the Olympics, they didn't really, or they haven't really been taking that great care of the athletes that are staying in the village. Have you heard the women in some of the areas of the Olympic Village? There's 2 bathrooms to 10 women. That's a problem. Remember, they're also sleeping on cardboard beds. Now, there's a different reason for that. I'll let you do the math on why they're sleeping on cardboard beds. But then you got this whole controversy about the water. Did you guys hear about this? They're thinking about changing some of the events because they're saying the local waterway is not safe to swim in. And then there was an article that came out where athletes in the Olympics right now talking about peeing in the pool. Not a big surprise. I mean, it doesn't shock me, but I do have a couple of takes about the Olympics, specifically one thing that you will see almost on every single swimmer. I'm going to make that part of the Ry-does later. Johnny, what's up, man? Hope you are doing well today, Ryan. I've been in San Diego. John, what were you doing in San Diego, my man? Tell me which parts. That is my second home outside of San Diego or outside of Sacramento. You know, I love me some San Diego. Alberto, happy Monday, my friend. I like the Boogie Ellis move. He showed a lot of promise at USC. Yeah, look, Boogie in 5 games. I've got his stats right here. 5 games in Vegas. He averaged 11.4 points, 4 assists, and then check this out. 51% from the field, and then 54% from beyond the 3-point line. Now, remember, it is Summer League. It's nothing to get way too excited about. It's much different. You're playing against competition that likely will not be playing in the NBA. But I do, if you want to talk about something about Boogie that I really like, no, please no. And by the way, DeMarcus, stop, bro. DeMarcus, these podcast tours that you're doing right now, it's a bad look, man. It is. I just think it's one of those trying to stay relevant, has been kind of things. DeMarcus, do your basketball. I know you just won a championship. Do what you want to do, but stay off the podcast talking about Sacramento, trashing Sacramento in some instances. So, no, I don't want to see Boogie wear 15. And I'm not saying that because I don't like DeMarcus Cousins. I would say that about any ex-King that is still reminiscing. Notice how I think it was Rudy Gay who came out and talked about his frustrations with the franchise. And you could probably argue that a lot of the frustrations that Rudy Gay had are not applicable to this Kings team and this Kings offseason. In fact, the Kings have kind of done the opposite. If anything, they are now helping stars out in their prime, i.e. Domantas Sabonis, i.e. De'Aaron Fox, who, by the way, has a contract extension that is going to be due. What's De'Aaron going to do? Remember, he's holding out for a supermax, which is going to require him to hit first or to be an all-NBA player. But he also wanted to see how this Kings roster was going to develop, and arguably, it's developing well. Now, could there have been things they could have done better in the past? Sure, but I don't have any problems with what happened this summer. Now, you might say, Ry-doe, what about Devin Carter? How do you not know about that shoulder injury? How do you not know that dude's going to be out half a season? Look, that's an NBA problem. I don't think that's as much of a Kings problem as it is an NBA problem. Guys are not going to self-report those injuries, number one. And number two, you're getting misinformation left and right because the teams are competing against each other for draft picks, for positioning if they want to move up, move down. So the NBA needs to look at how they do that system. But to me, Devin Carter, it's going to be a redshirt year. In what world, if the Kings need Devin Carter to come back in the middle of the season, probably post All-Star break, if you are that dependent on a rookie to be successful this season, there's a bigger problem with the roster. So I think he will probably end up sitting out a little bit. But what I was going to say about Boogie, now I got all sidetracked on DeMarcus and everything else, but I like Boogie's body style. He's built for the NBA in terms of a smaller guard. He is built well. He fits in line with what Mike Brown likes in that type of position offensively. He can knock it down once in a while. But again, is it going to be enough for him to earn a roster spot? And who knows if there is even going to be a roster spot available come this time or come the start of the season. The Kings still could make moves. So we'll see what happens. Let's see. I got to get used to this now. Adam, what? The casual guy, excuse me. You would be a Spurs fan if you weren't a Kings fan. All right, tell me why. Alberto, he's going Lakers. Tell me why. You would be a Lakers fan. Alberto, are you from Southern California? I could understand that. It is legally changed. All right, very good to know. Thank you, Adam. Very good. Finchy has been snorkeling in Point Loma and OB. I love it, brother. Good job, man. Good job, John. Chuck, what's up, dude? Hope you're having a good day. I have a question. What streaming services plays the most Kings and 49ers games? Chuck, you would probably need to have a cable subscription or maybe I can't speak to YouTube TV. I don't know what their live packages look like, or you would have to, let me think about this, probably League Pass. League Pass and the NFL, though, that would still be a problem. She would have blackouts with Sunday Ticket. Good question. Help our guy Chuck Lee out on the best streaming services to get those games. C-Dog, what do you think about the Yankees getting Jazz Chisholm? I think it's a good move, C-Dog. I still think, though, they need to address pitching, my man. What are they going to do? I know they might be in the market for a reliever, And that was at C-Dog. Were you watching on Saturday night? Did you see Cabrera go into the stands and try? I think it was Cabrera who in right field, he dives backwards, literally backwards, OBJ style, leaning back and goes over the fence, catches the ball, but then hits his head on the stands. The ball comes loose. It was an unbelievable, and I mean literally unbelievable play. Citrus Heights. Yeah, dude. So I would get, if I'm you, here's what I'm doing. I'm getting a digital antenna, right? And then for the Kings games, that's the problem. That is the problem, Chuck, because they're on NBC Sports California. I don't think you can get no, you couldn't get a subscription to that. You would have to have a login to a provider that has NBC Sports California. So you might be able to get that through YouTube TV, my man. I would look at that one to start. C-Dog, crazy series. That game Saturday night was a lot of fun. And by the way, C-Dog, I know the Yankees have a way, right? They have certain rules about facial hair. You know, Steinbrenner used to have an idea of what a Yankee looked like in his head. There's certain things about the Yankees, I must say, that are classic. Some of these guys that walk up there with fireman mustaches, they just look like Yankees. And then there's sometimes where it's like, I can't believe the Yankees allow that. Like one of the guys was actually wearing like I don't know what it was, but he had something on under his hat. It was really weird. Alberto from Sacramento, however, I admired the hell out of Kobe. Love-hate relationship, but his accomplishments on the court were undeniable. Kobe it's his mindset. It starts with his mindset. He was one of those guys that you would stop what you were doing to watch him. I remember we were at the gym and we had just finished open gym running, whatever. And it was the night Kobe scored. Was it 82 or 83, 84? It was in the low 80s. And we just stopped and we watched for a quarter and a half. And it was straight up magic. But yes, I totally get that. I don't know if I could do the Lakers. I just don't know. I've never been one of those front runner. And I'm Alberto, don't take it the wrong way, brother. I am not calling you a front runner, but I like going for teams that are kind of under the radar. Like for me, before last season, maybe the season before, I really used to like watching Oklahoma City play. For whatever reason, I liked OKC, and I think a lot of it had to do with the fan base. So I think for me, looking at what other team I would be a fan of, I'm looking at fan bases, and damn it, the Kings have the best fan base. And I'm not saying that to kiss everybody's butt. It is. I hear it all the time. I hear knowledgeable, intelligent, know their basketball, understand basketball, loyal. It's incredible. In fact, I have a friend that is in town right now, and he is from the Pacific Northwest. And no, it's not Haunted Horse. Don't start asking. And Haunted Horse, no, it's not Wells. But and he was saying, there's so many things about the Kings fans that remind me of the 12s. And maybe that's why I'm a 12. I don't know. It is pretty cool. Let's see. Trent Grisham and Austin Wells. There you go. 81. Thank you so much for that. Just admire Popovich and the way that the organization has been run for the last 30. You could say the same about the Miami Heat. Could definitely say the same about the Miami Heat. Remember, Orlando Robinson, he is headed to Sacramento. He got signed. Big guy, plays a little bit of power forward, mostly center. He'll be battling for that spot. I do like his G League numbers, 24 and 11, including 5.1 offensive rebounds. So that will be interesting. So it is a Ry-doe Monday. We are talking Olympics. By the way, let's get you a medal count while we have you here with the Olympics. What events has everybody been watching? I've definitely been checking out the swimming. The swimming has been a lot of fun to watch. I've watched basketball, obviously. There were a couple of obscure events that I had to tune into because I'm just like, what is that? Like, how do they do that? The air rifle for one of them. I had to see what that was about because these guns that not only do they look like rifles, it looks like almost like a bow too on part of it. So I caught the tail end of that, which was somewhat cool. Watched a little bit of volleyball, saw a little bit of diving, waiting for the track field. That is what I'm looking forward to the most. I love the track and field. Did anybody catch any of the, is it kayaking? I think it's the kayaks, but it's called something else. That was really interesting to me, how they build the white water rapids. And it looks impossible to, by the way, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. Not only at times do they have to go downstream, obviously, they have to go upstream and they've got to get through these little obstacles and they got to get under them. It's really incredible to watch. They just drop them right in. So that has been a lot of fun. Have not watched a lot of soccer, but the medal count goes like this right now. Japan has the most gold medals with 6, and they've got 12 overall. France with 5 golds, 16 overall. Let's get to the U.S. 3 golds. But remember, a lot of the U.S. sports, and I believe today, 3-on-3 started. So Jimmer Fredette and that crew. Also, Rick Barry's son on the 3-on-3 team. I think they played earlier today. I don't have the score of that one for you. But let's see. Australia, 5 gold medals. Obviously, the early swimming events, there's been some amazing swims. The Americans win gold in the 400 IM. I thought that, or no, the 400 free relay. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that one. And then watch some of the breaststroke, watch some of the medleys, the backstroke. I don't get the backstroke. How do you not get water in your ears? And I know how to swim. I think at one point I knew how to do the backstroke, but the water in the ears and the swimming caps, that's going to be for the Ry-does because I don't understand how in this day and age, look at all this advanced equipment these swimmers are wearing from their suits, whatever, but yet the old rubber cap, that stiff, ashy, smelly thing is still relevant. It's still relevant. All the swimmers wear them. I can't believe that in an age where we have AI, where we have cars that drive themselves, rubber caps are still the thing. Really incredible. Let's see. The skateboarding. Yes, did not. Well, you know what? Take that back. I did see just a tiny bit of the skateboarding. Men's gymnastics, I have not caught that yet. I did watch a little bit of the women's gymnastics. And I got to say, I'm not going to do a Ry-doe for this, but considering what women's gymnastics have been through, specifically the American teams, not going to go into the details of it, but it's been well reported. There's somebody serving a life sentence for what they did as trainer with the women's gymnastics team here in America. I don't understand how gymnastics, especially when you have men coaching women, is still so touchy-feely. Did anybody else notice that? The male coaches still hugging the girls, grabbing them in certain spots. And when I mean grabbing them, when they're on the practicing their routine, guiding them, I am really surprised that USA Gymnastics has not drawn a hard line in the sand about what coaches can do and what they cannot do in terms of that. I get it's a different sport. I understand there's an element of teaching that needs to happen, but that surprised me when I saw all the hugging still, considering what happened. I didn't know what to think about that. So, C-Dog, what's up with the water? And dude. So they knew that water had sewage in it. In fact, I think the mayor of Paris swam in it not too long ago. And somebody had said it was the first time in like 30 years people had been swimming in there. And so, yeah, now they're looking to alter events because of the bulleye levels in the water. There's reports that there is sewage, raw sewage leaking into the water. And it's not just that water, it's also the Olympic swimming pool. There's also reports that the chlorine levels have had to be elevated because of the swimmers doing what they do in the water. That it's not surprising, but I'm surprised that some of the swimmers have been as candid as they have been about that. Yeah, dude, Bane, dude, you nailed it. Grant is so excited about the 3-on-3. You know what else he is super pumped up about? The flag football. I can't wait. Grant is going to be all over the flag football. And don't forget about breaking. Breaking's going to be a major thing as well. Dude, you can't give up on your handle that quick, my man. You can't do it. All right. Let's talk, though, about the USA team really quick and the men's basketball team in Paris. In fact, let's switch the logo up right now. Remember, this is a one-man show. So I am doing all of the graphics for now. No producer with me today. But let's talk about Team USA and their first game against Serbia. They came out slow. Serbia came out and had a nice start to the point that it was a little bit worrisome. You're thinking, okay, USA didn't play particularly great when it came to the exhibition season, but they are by far the most talented team in the Olympics. There's no doubt about it. In fact, I've heard some people say they think this team could be better than the Dream Team. And I'm not buying that, not for a second. I don't care if this team wins gold. I don't think they touch the Dream Team. The Dream Team would have cruised through the exhibition season. This team did not. Anyways, getting back to the Dream Team and getting back to this version of the team, one thing that was a big thing made out of was the fact that Jason Tatum did not get any run yesterday against Serbia. Really interesting. Steve Kerr was asked a little bit more about this. Let's go back to Brian Windhorst and Steve Kerr.
He's been saying and doing so many things through the exhibition season, but he came out and played a totally complete game for you tonight in a situation when you really needed it against a high quality opponent.
Yeah, LeBron had another level that he was going to get to following the 5 friendly games that we played, and Spo and Ty Lue both told me, they've coached him before. They said when the stakes are at their highest, he's at his best, and he was really good in the friendlies. But there's a different level of energy, and at 39 for him to still be doing this is amazing. But there are times where he kind of conserves his energy and uses it at the right time. And
that's what I wanted you to hear. So I said at the top, nobody, not anyone in the Olympics can play in transition with the Kings, with Team USA. You saw it yesterday. Even when they were down 10-2, once they got out into transition, LeBron muscles up, gets an and one, turns things around. Devin Booker hits a couple of threes, and this was before Kevin Durant came into the game. But Steve Kerr, coming into the Olympics, was worried about the defensive end of the court, as he should have been. There was a reason Derek White was one of the first subs off the bench for Team USA. But when Steve says that LeBron's conserving energy at certain points of the game, to me, he is talking about the defensive end of the court. Team USA is going to have a problem, as you saw at the start of the game yesterday. If they get a team in that tournament, whether it be France, once you get to the medal rounds, whether it be South Sudan, who's up next for them. Look, they like to spread it out. They like to play more perimeter. They like to shoot more threes, right? So maybe that's more long rebounds and it gets up pace. So that's not a problem with Team USA. But if you get a team that slows it down in the half court, Team USA could be in trouble, because then it's going to limit what they are able to do to get out into transition. And the bigs yesterday, I got to say, did not look particularly good early in that game. LeBron James, Kevin Durant, both led this team, and LeBron did play well. He played very well. But at age 39, I'll ask you this. if this comes down to a one-game winner-take-gold matchup against somehow, I don't think they can. Let's say Serbia gets back in there. Let's say it's France. Let's say it's Canada. Excuse me. I was going to say Germany because that's who Canada opened against. But let's say it's Canada. What is your confidence level that Team USA will not get clipped after what you saw yesterday? Do you think there is a team in the Olympics that can possibly get them in one game? That is my worry. Grant thinks that if Team USA does not get gold, it's going to happen during the group stage. I disagree. I think it's going to happen in a medal game scenario because that half-court defense was not good early on for Team USA. It was really, really bad. And you can't count on shooting over 50% from beyond the three-point line every single game. Now, getting back to Jason Tatum, Steve Kerr went on to say that he talked to Jason Tatum before the game, said he didn't like the matchups. And remember, it is different in international basketball. Play 10. So Steve Kerr said, Jason, you're not going to get any run today, right? But Jason Tatum is expected to play in the next game against South Sudan. So that being said, there is a way you can keep these guys fresh and still have a ton of talent on the floor. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to your KDs. It's going to come down to your LeBron James. And are they, as I said, going to be able to, at their ages, one, dealing with an injury, Kevin Durant, even though he looked great yesterday, take nothing away from him. Are they going to be able to keep up what you saw yesterday? 110 points is the most points they have scored in any game in this summertime since this team came back together. So again, what is your confidence level in this team in a one-game sample size? I'm not completely sold on it. Alberto, 2014 KD came out in that first half. Yes, he did. He was, what's his name on Twitter or on X? Isn't it like Easy Money Sniper, something like that? He was every bit of that sniper yesterday, and exactly what Team USA needed. Adam, no chance this team would beat the Dream Team. I agree, right? Michael Jeffrey Jordan. By the way, good on Michael Jordan. He texted one of the Olympic gymnasts, the female gymnast, who was named after him. Good luck. I thought that was pretty cool. Bain hopping in on the conversation. They need to move all the water events to French Polynesia. You know, the water or the surfing, I believe, is going on in Tahiti. That water, I'm not sure if anybody caught some of the surfing. I believe it was the women's first round and second round this weekend. Oh my gosh, that water was beautiful. It was like this tealish white. Oh, I was watching it for the water and the waves. That's how beautiful it was. Derek, what's up, man? France can beat them. Anything can happen in one game. I agree. And as I look at the box score here, I mean, I just wonder, and you look, let's be fair. Jokic is one of the best players in the world, but that Serbian team does not have the help around him outside of Bogey. So you're going to run into teams like Canada who do have a little bit more help and more firepower out on the perimeter. And with what I saw again with Embiid, you only get 4 points from him yesterday. Bam Adebayo, you only get 4 points from Bam. They didn't look particularly great to me on the inside. So what's going to happen when you run into, and by the way, the international game is predicated a lot more around the bigs. There are rules that favor the bigs. No defensive 3 seconds. Goaltending, much different. Once the ball hits the rim, you can take it off. So I don't know if Team USA, if they run in to a team that has solid bigs. And I know Jokic is one of the best of them in the world, but Jokic isn't traditional. He doesn't play down low like a lot of the other bigs. So I worry about that. But again, huge game. Kevin Durant, you got to think he's going to move into the starting lineup, don't you? I don't see any way that he doesn't. I understand why he came off the bench yesterday, because it was his first action since training camp opened. But I'm telling you, this team excellent performance yesterday, 110-84. However, it does not change my worry about this team. Let's go back to Steve Kerr.
Needed that tonight.
So this is one of the things that happens when you're the coach of Team USA. You guys play your best game of the whole summer to this point, but you didn't get to use Jason Tatum.
Yeah, it's tough, but Jason handled it really well. I talked to him today before the game that it may play out this way, just with Kevin coming back and the lineups that I wanted to get to. But that'll change. You know, Jason's going to play. Every game's going to be different based on matchups. He's a total pro. He's, you know, first team All NBA 3 years in a row. I felt like an idiot not playing him. But in a 40-minute game, you can't play more than 10. You really can't. And, you know, so I think he's an amazing guy, great player, and handled it beautifully. And, you know, he'll be back out there next game.
Yep. Jason Tatum will be out there next game. I would expect him to get significant run again against South Sudan. They play that type of style where the USA is going to have to switch a lot. And I mean, switch a lot on the perimeter. So it's a 3-point game. Look, if the USA, again, if they shoot the way they shot yesterday, they are going to be tough to beat. But I still think, again, they are a little susceptible. They are a little vulnerable. And speaking of Wemby, Derek, the French crowd is showing up. They are showing up. This is a hot ticket, but I don't know if you noticed it both with the swimming, but also the basketball. You know, Grant doesn't put a ton into home court. However, I think once you get down to the gold medal game, it matters a little bit if you're playing somebody like France on basically their court. Was there any areas of concern yesterday for all of you? Any areas of concern? Obviously, again, 56.3% from beyond the arc for Team USA. Turnovers had been a little bit, or actually a lot of bit, of an issue for Team USA in the exhibition periods. And again, yesterday, 17 times they turned the ball over. That has got to get cleaned up. And I'm surprised it still has not gotten cleaned up. And I get it takes time for these guys to gel together, become a unit, because they don't always play together. But 17 is too much against a better team. So, yeah, Edie, he is a no-go. Let's see. Alex weighing in. I have Hulu Live signing into NBC. There you go. So that's how it works these days, by the way. I don't need to explain it. I think everybody pretty much knows that. If you have a Amazon Fire Stick, if you have a smart TV, you have Apple TV like we have, you can download the apps and then put your TV login information in. Derek says they were red hot, won't shoot like that. Yeah, I don't think they will continue shooting like that. I don't. I think that was their best shooting performance by far of the exhibition season. And certainly Kevin Durant had a lot to do with that. The turnovers, though, 17 a lot. I know USA still had 9 steals, but a lot of the steals, to me, they were not pressure steals. They were just bad plays by Serbia. So I'm not trying to paint a bad picture. And Team USA fouled 18 times yesterday. They fouled Serbia 18 times. That's too many. So that goes back to the bigs. And as this tournament progresses, the bigs is where you've got to watch, because, again, this game is so predicated around the bigs internationally. So that is your Olympic wrap-up for Team USA. We've talked about Boogie Ellis, who's going to be headed into training camp with your Kings. We heard from Tin, who talked about DeMar DeRozan. By the way, DeMar, for those that don't know, he is down playing in the Drew League right now. Uh-oh. What? Don't worry. It's all good. DeMar does it almost every single year. If you don't know what the Drew League is, it is a league down in Los Angeles. It's very, very well known. A lot of NBA players play in the Drew League. They don't play in every single game, but they'll usually pop in for a couple of them. Kyrie Irving being another guy that will play in there sometimes. A guy no longer here in Sacramento, Harrison Barnes, shout out to him in San Antonio. He plays a lot with Rico Hines down in the offseason in LA. So DeMar getting some run there, and a lot of momentum for your Kings headed into the headed into training camp. Yes, no doubt. Face of SoCal League summer, no doubt, my man. Sea-Dog, sucks that guys are already dropping like flies in training camp. I put a tweet out earlier today. Another guy, torn ACL for the Cowboys. John, man, I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry to say it. This is, and Grant and I talked about it last Thursday. It is really sometimes my least favorite part of the year. Think about these guys that train all year to get to training camp to maybe just get a couple of reps, and you could be a mediocre, or you could be a second, third string guy, which, by the way, those guys end up getting a ton of run during the preseason, and sometimes can earn roster spots, which to me is one of the more interesting parts of preseason and why I like it. I think although you're not seeing really chess matches between teams, you are seeing guys play hard late into the third, fourth quarters in preseason football because they're trying to earn jobs. So anytime one of those guys goes down, whether it's a starter, whether it is a rookie, it doesn't matter. It breaks my heart for him because if you're on the fringe of the roster, man, they're not going to, unlikely that an NFL team in this day, this age, will keep you on the roster through that injury unless you are a first round pick, unless you are one of those guys that's going to move the needle. So it's unavoidable, unfortunately, but I hate to see it. Another torn Achilles. We're seeing an uptick in Achilles. I feel like we have seen that a lot more than we usually do. You got Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers. You had a couple other guys last year, another one for the Colts. So what's everybody thinking about with football and fantasy football? Are you playing fantasy football? If you remember a couple of weeks ago, I was asking for your help. I need your help. So to give you an update on what's going on with me, I entered the fantasy football league. I am doing the fantasy football league that I told you about, where I get to decide what the punishment will be for the last place team in the league. And I still need to decide the punishment. So if you have any ideas, let me know. I am still taking ideas on that. And I don't want it to be anything too generic, like a tattoo or, something like that. Something original, something that's not too bad, but like definitely something that will make somebody get a little bit uncomfortable. And I'm not saying make everybody else uncomfortable, make that person uncomfortable. Also, we will be bringing back our Yahoo Pick'em League. In fact, this guy's Sea-Dog, he has won it one year, and I believe last year it was Peter that took it down. We'll have our If You Don't Like That Pick'em. What we do is you pick every single game against the spread. If you don't pick a game, it's counted as a loss. And we do it through Yahoo, and we would absolutely love to have you join in. Usually the winner gets a gift card. I believe last year it was a $100 gift card donated by Jay and his lovely wife. And so we'd love to have you play our Yahoo League. It is totally free to join and a lot of fun. Last year we had, I believe, 75 different teams in there. So make sure you get in there. Sea-Dog, that one's growing on me. I'm going to get to that in a second. How much do you buy into players' training camp hype? I'm hearing great things about Neighbors and not sure if it matters until the games count. Here's what I buy into, Sea-Dog. I pay attention to, especially this time of year, a lot of the local beat reporters, the people that have their feet on the ground, that are in training camp every single day. I'm not talking about your NFL reporter, your NFL network guys. They go there for one day. out of training camp and then move on to the next team. I'm talking about the reporters that are there every single day, that watch every single snap. And the reason that I pay attention to them is because they are seeing, whether it's ones versus ones, they're seeing improvements daily from certain players. They are looking the closest. So in this case, Sea-Dog, if it's somebody like Malik Neighbors that's going up against the Giants ones and he's making plays and you're seeing a progression, I start to buy in a little bit. If I'm hearing that from a local guy that follows that team, a beat reporter. Same thing goes for Caleb Williams. There's been a lot of reports about him and the defense battling on a daily basis. In fact, they've been doing little competitions in Chicago, little goal lines every single day in camp. And some days the defense is getting over, getting a couple picks, getting stops. Other days, Caleb, who's thrown to arguably one of the best receiver cores in the NFL, no doubt the most improved receiver core in the NFL. That stuff, that matters to me, but the national stuff doesn't. So the problem is, now that the NFL is thinking about, and by the way, if you missed any time last week here on the King's Court, we covered this a little bit. They are in serious talks, the NFL and the NFLPA, about adding the 19th game. Now, or excuse me, an 18th game. If you add an 18th game, that is going to give you, a 19th game. Yes, a 19th game. Excuse me for that. No, an 18th game. 18th game. Going backwards. Look, I have all of my picks right there. But if you add the 18th or 19th game, or 18th game, excuse me, I can't talk right now. If you add an 18th game, you're going to add another bye week, which means maybe you cut down on the preseason games, which means we already see, because many of the starters don't play a lot of football in the preseason, or at least in the games. The first couple weeks of the season end up being the preseason. So does that extend out a little bit further? Maybe. But in terms of the hype, again, I am a happy guy with what I'm hearing about certain guys. And yes, I will buy into it if it is from guys that are in camp every day or people that I talk to on a regular basis. Bane, adopt a cat. That's not a bad one. That has come up. But the problem is, if you got a wife or vice versa, you have a husband, could be a problem. You don't know if you have allergies, if they like pets. So I will keep that one in mind. Now, this one, Sea-Dog, I have seen online and I really like it. The classic 24 hours at a Waffle House. Each pancake takes 30 minutes off the clock. The problem is, some of the dudes in our group, they can throw down. So I like that. A Waffle House, that's a good one. Question. You guys are already drafted. Nice, Adam. You've got CD, Brees Hall, and Jameer Gibbs, excuse me. Two-player keeper league. You got to think the deal's going to get done with CD. You got to think. And I'm assuming none of these guys were kept last year, Adam, because you wouldn't be able to keep them for a second year. I would go CD and Brees. That's what I would do if I were you. Brees is really come out, fired up, thinks he's going to have a big year. I do like Gibbs, though, and I love what Detroit's doing. They are on a natural progression towards winning the Super Bowl and doing it the right way. Dan Campbell, did any of you have Dan Campbell doing this good of a job in Detroit? And in fact, I'll take it a step further. Detroit right now reminds me of the Sacramento Kings of the NFL. That city has been starved for playoff football. That city has been starved for good football. And now they're right on the verge. They were up in the NFC title game on the road against the Niners. You got Eminem talking junk to Niners fans, and then they end up losing the game. Yeah. Tell me they are not the Sacramento Kings of the NFL, both fan base and team. That's where the Kings were in 2002. And that fan base is now getting a nice, healthy taste of success. So let me think about that, because I do like Gibbs a lot. In fact, Let's go to the ratings. Let's see what ESPN has those guys rated in their own positions. You got Breece Hall, number 2 right now, according to ESPN Fantasy. And I assume you're in a PPR because I'm looking at a PPR chart. Gibbs is number 7. Number 7. You haven't drafted. It's your keepers. All right. Perfect. And then let's see. CD, he is right towards the top for wide receivers. No, he's actually not. Oh, continued. CD's number 1. So if you're going off of ESPN, Adam, you got to go Breece and CD. The question becomes, if you want to get, which you do sometimes have to take a risk, then definitely consider Gibbs, but not bad, man. Good sample size to choose from there. Okay, that is one of the best ones I have seen.
Holy moly,
Derek.
Jimbo Bowling.
That is good, Derek. Well done. A power slap competition. So basically everybody in the league gets to take a swat. Is that what we're saying? You think we could get a buffer out there? I like it. Good job, Derek. Derek, you might be at the top of the list, my man. Yeah. And Adam, yeah, you got to keep Breece. Here's the problem. Are you confident, Adam? Are you confident that Aaron Rodgers is going to be healthy? Yes or no? That is the big if. That is the huge if. Adam, or Derek, dude, you get a holy moly for that.
Holy moly, Jimbo Bowling.
That was really good. Holy moly. I love it, man. Only thing is, can we get buffer out there? So I was watching UFC this past weekend. By the way, huge shout out to the crowd in Manchester. Those fights started in the middle of the night, their time. The main event didn't go on until something like 5 a.m. And they still broad crowd did, but there was basically a commercial for Power Slap. It's talking about a Power Slap possible television show where it's kind of like The Ultimate Fighter. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, here we go. Because we were literally just talking about Power Slap here. I don't know how it's a sport. C-Dog looked up the highest paid athletes in Power Slap, and it is not that much. It is not. I think it's more novelty than sport. Do you guys disagree? I think it's novelty. Adam, I think Gibbs might break through. Yeah, he might have a better season. It's, again, Aaron Rodgers. Is he going to be healthy? Is he not going to be healthy? Or just have Grant slap the loser? Nah, I don't think Napes going to be down for that. And quite honestly, Napes has already taken enough from the clones, by the way. If you guys didn't know this, Grant used to guest host the Jim Rome Show. He was a fill-in host for the Jim Rome Show for 16, 17 years, and he did a great job, and he understood the show. He got the show. So he would have some of the best in the jungle, and I literally mean the best, call up and go in on him. And for instance, if you are a Jim Rome person, Brad in Corona, my boy Brad has a legendary call. I think you can find it still online, where he called and went in on Grant and who's this goofy looking guy with the red hair. And he was talking some other stuff, but Grant, he's taking it from the clones and he's giving it right back. What a great time. You guys should go check that out when Grant used to host the Jim Rome Show. And Jim, by the way, Jimmy, my man, if you are watching this or this gets back to you, touche. I got you, my man. Don't think I'm going to let that fly, though, Jim. What happened today? That's not going to fly. All right. So you got a little something coming back from Ryan in Sacktown. Just letting you know, Jimmy. So I would watch Power Slap Ultimate Fighter or an Ultimate Slapper. Yeah. See, it's getting a little out of hand now. Well, what's next? Ultimate slapper. What's after that? What's the next sport going to be? I've got to think boxing pretty soon is going to be heading into the sunset, going to get their golden watches. I mean, outside of Jake Paul, boxing's dead for the most part, unless you are a hardcore boxing fan. At least the days that I remember, at least through college, when Mayweather was fighting, De La Hoya was fighting, Tyson was fighting. And I'm not even talking about the Ali days, the Frazier days. I'm talking about the times when I was in boxing was relevant. Like, you would want to get that pay-per-view, right? It was, remember when Mayweather is fighting De La Hoya and he comes out all in the Mexican, draped basically his gear in the Mexican flag? That was like the ultimate shot across the bow. You wanted to see boxing, even though MMA was still on the way up, and now boxing is just, it's Jake Paul. It's kind of exhibition now. You have guys, to me, that are actually disrespecting boxing. When you have MMA guys that don't want to fight MMA, but then say, oh, we'll do a boxing match. How disrespectful is that to boxing, that they switch over, get it into a boxing match, get it on some form of pay-per-view, and end up making $7, $8, $9 million on the fight when they're doing it for themselves. They're not doing it for the sport of boxing. They're not doing it to advance the sport of boxing. So to me, it's on its way out. I don't see how boxing will ever be relevant again the way that it used to. Yo, what's up, my man? BJ, how you doing today, buddy? Yeet. Happy to have you here. We are getting it in on a Monday, man. We've covered the Olympics. We've covered the men's basketball team. We've talked some fantasy football. We have talked some regular football. We are getting it all right now. And now we are talking about the Olympics and weird sports that have made it in. Why not Olympic professional wrestling? You can answer that question yourself, Adam. Or excuse me, the casual guy. The casual guy. That's your new moniker. The casual guy. Yeah, Adam, dude, you're the wrestling correspondent here, man. You know they could never do that. You'd just be giving out gold medals. You would be booking gold medals, my man. You can't do that. As much as I love wrestling, we dedicate 30 minutes to wrestling once a week on this show. As much as I love it, remember, it is still scripted. It's scripted, my man. So the finishes, I should say, are scripted. So, yeah, Dave, what's up, man? How you doing today? What do you think of the current Sacramento Kings roster? How do you want me to rate it, Dave? Excuse me, guys, my voice. How do you want me to rate the roster? If I'm going to say a 10 is championship, a 1 is extremely concerned, like you're going to be probably picking first in the draft, I am probably at a 6.5 or a 7. And the reason I'm at a 6.5 or a 7 is not because of who's on the roster, or not because of what I think this roster can do. It's about the moves that this roster could have made to improve itself. I know that's a little bit convoluted, but let me explain. I'm very happy with what this summer turned into. You can't, I talked about it at the top with the NBA. It's an NBA problem that the Kings did not know that Devin Carter needed surgery. That is a reporting problem. That is a league-wide problem, because you basically are encouraging these guys to do whatever they can to get drafted however high that they can go, because it is literally a set pay schedule if you are in the lottery. So guys are not going to disclose, oh yeah, I'm going to be out for 6 months. And let's be fair too to Devin. Devin seems like a tough kid. He comes from an NBA family. I highly doubt, and I have not met him, so I cannot say one way or the other. We've never talked. I don't know him. I know about him from what I've read, researched, watched tape. But what I do know from that is I highly doubt he would have hid an injury from the Kings. If I had to bet, my money would be on the fact that he tweaked it and he thought, oh, this feels a little bit weird, but I'm going to keep doing my workouts. Because remember, Devin worked out for 8 teams, I believe. 8 teams. That is a lot of individual workouts in addition to the draft combine. So my guess is I tweaked it. Hey, I'm disclosing I tweaked my shoulder. Okay. But I don't think it's anything serious. And that's probably the conversation that was had, right? To me, that is likely what happened. And then what goes on? You have imaging. And guess what? You are more hurt than you realize. Has that ever happened to any of you? It's happened to me. I can guarantee you it's happened to me. I've been coming out of the doctor's office, walking, and then have a nurse come up and say, stop. What are you doing? You have a broken foot. You can't be walking on that. So to me, I set that situation aside. That is what I think probably happened. I don't think it went the other way. I don't think it was anything malicious. Now, Kevin, let's talk about him. I don't mind Kevin Huerter being on this roster right now. In fact, the acquisition of DeMar DeRozan, to me, really bumps what Kevin's potential is for this team. I think it could get Kevin a lot more of those set. Remember what I'm saying there? Set looks, not free-flowing looks, set looks, where Kevin is getting to Kevin's spots as opposed to Kevin trying to create and score for himself. So I think that improves the outlook for him, assuming he's on this team. But I look at what the Kings could have done at the trade deadline last year. I've said it forever. Since Dallas made the conference finals and ultimately the NBA finals, I said anybody but Dallas. Anybody but Dallas. They were a team the Kings were ahead of before the All-Star break. The Kings were better than Dallas before the All-Star break. Dallas makes a couple of moves. Yes, you do give up a first-round pick to get PJ Washington. But lo and behold, what happens? Those little moves put Dallas over the top, right? So I'm not saying those were the moves the Kings should have made, but I'm saying there were residual moves out there that the Kings probably could have made to improve their chances. Now, that doesn't improve their health. Kevin was hurt, so I get his value is nearly zero at that point. But then let's go back to the trade deadline before that. Who was the team that did the exact same thing? It was the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers. They were floundering. And what happens? They make a couple of moves. They get Hachimura. They get D'Angelo Russell. What happens? Conference finals. They got those guys for cheap, y'all. So, in consideration that I feel this roster could have been significantly better for very cheap, I have a hard time putting them over a 7. I just do. Has nothing to do with the potential. I just look at the little moves the Kings could have made that would not have shook the core of this team or truly affected any of the trades that they have made. So for that reason, it's a 6.5 or a 7. Now, my confidence in this roster, my confidence is through the roof. If you want to ask me my confidence level out of a 10, I'm probably at an 8.5. And the reason I'm at an 8.5 is quietly, very quietly last year, the Kings, check this out, very quietly, the Kings accomplished all of season goals for the most part with the roster. They wanted to get deeper. They did. They got Sasha. They got Duarte. Now, they didn't get deeper in a talent. At the end of the day, the talent didn't work out. Let's put it that way. But going into the season, they got deeper, okay? Rim protection. The Kings, remember, progressive still to this day comes in here on the King's Court and says, we need rim protectors, right? Well, the Kings last year, they wanted to protect the rim. And guess what they did? 24.5% up in the block category. 24.5%. That's significant. And I know some of that comes from the perimeter. Okay. But at the same time, they protected the rim. You can't deny it. 24.5%. It's up. Rebounds. They wanted to rebound better. Rebounds were slightly at 0.01%. Domas led the league in rebounding. Again, second year in a row. You know what else improved significantly? Twofold. Offensive rebounding. Both when the Kings getting offensive rebounds, but the Kings keeping other teams off the offensive boards. Both of those categories through the roof improved. So quietly, the Kings hit all their goals last season with the roster and the things they needed to improve. They didn't hit their ultimate goal of making the playoffs, winning a championship. But now let's look back at last season. Injuries. The Kings, everything that went right for them in 22-23, injury-wise, went wrong last season. Went very wrong, right? So you've got that. I'm not saying injuries are going to be much better this year. They could be worse, right? They could be worse. But if I'm looking at this training staff, if I'm looking at the body of work, DeMar DeRozan coming in here, who played, 78 games last year? Let's be spot on about that. I don't want to be wrong. DeMar last year played 79 games last year. Played a career high 37.8 minutes per game. Okay? So automatically, you've got a guy, when you lose a Harrison Barnes, a guy that played 82 games, right? You got DeMar coming in. That's going to be a big difference. He has proven he can stay on the court, right? But through all this with the Kings last season, through the ups and downs of the first half of the season, their net rating did not really do anything. It fluctuated between 0.6. It fluctuated between 0.3 and 0.6 the entire first half of the season. Then they go with this defensive mindset, right? And it almost triples. And that's with injuries included. So I get some of the pieces have changed, but this is the biggest piece that I am the most confident about this coming season and my confidence level. It's the free throws. What I'm saying is I've talked to people that are around the team. I have talked and listened to other people that cover the team. I've listened to national personalities that feel the Kings' talent potential is not maxed out. And I agree with them. What I'm saying is the majority of the Kings' struggles last year were self-inflicted. They were completely self-inflicted. Free throw attempts were down 16%. Over 16%. Made free throws down over 21%. That is a lot of points. That is an insane swing from the year previous. Insane swing. So my confidence is high that a lot of the big problems are easily correctable. And the fact that you bring in a DeMar DeRozan, you bring in a guy that has a proven record of being a leader, a proven record of getting to the free throw line, and holds guys accountable. That's not going to happen again. Who was the guy in the locker room last year that was doing that? There really wasn't. Nobody stepped up and said this wasn't okay. Nobody did. At times, you have the time where De'Aaron doesn't talk for 16 days to the media. Malik Monk's usually the guy that keeps it loose in the locker room. DeMar DeRozan ain't going to let that fly. He's not, in my opinion. And De'Aaron Fox seems to really respect him. And then You throw Keon Ellis. He comes out of nowhere. You throw the player development that's gone on between Stockton and Sacramento. And I know it's all under one roof, but the way that they have collaborated with the usage of the two-way players, and even some of the guys that went down and spent some time in Stockton, like your Kessler Edwards, who's now with the Mavericks, it has been spot on. And I know Lindsey Hart is now, and by the way, I mean G League Coach of the Year, is now joining JJ Redick's staff in Los Angeles. But I have all the confidence in the world that program, look at your Mason Jones, guys. Look at some of the other pieces that this team is continuing to develop, and not just develop, but identify. Keon Ellis was undrafted. Gabriel Harris has done an excellent job acting GM right now for the Stockton Kings. So what I'm saying is the potential for a turnaround here is extremely high. It's not like everything needs to break exactly right. It's the Kings just need to make a few very simple corrections. On top of that, coaching. Mike Brown gets extended. This is the most solid base this team has had in years. So what I'm saying, I'm not trying to elevate, and it was a great question about what I'd rate the roster, because it is different from what I'd rate the potential and how I feel about it. But the Kings are in a very good place. They are not coming. The pressure is different on this team than it was last year. To me, they're back to a little bit of that underdog. They feel disrespected. Domas gets left off the All-Star team, right? Foxy left off the All-Star team. Malik Monk doesn't get Sixth Man of the Year. They feel disrespected. And so there is a high belief in that building that a ton of the correctables can be corrected. And that includes Coach Brown going back to a more structured style of play on offense. So I am extremely optimistic about what this team's going to do as they sit right now. And that's with realistic expectations for Kevin Huerter, realistic expectations for Keon Ellis. I think this team's going to be really good, guys. I really, really do. Let's get to some of your comments, and then we will wrap it up here in a few minutes. Okay, you guys have been putting in yours. Alberto says 6.5. BJ, 6.74. BJ, how'd you get to a 0.74, my man? Help me out. Alberto, spot on. Sorry for the rant, guys. I feel passionate about that. I'll give you sugar when you need sugar, but I'll also give you salt when you need salt. And that's not me trying to paint a picture here at the end of July. It's how I truly feel. So let's see. Yes, I saw the roster visually, and I don't have Kev starting with Fox, DeMar, Keegan, and Sabonis, with Lyles, Monk, Ellis coming off the bench. Could also switch Ellis with Huerter with starting. All right. Fair enough. BJ, what could have been? It makes me think that the owner is too involved in basketball decisions, as in X's and O's. That's a better question for Grant. I know that Vivek is well known for meddling and getting involved in places sometimes basketball-wise that he shouldn't. But I feel like there has been a little bit more autonomy for these guys outside of Vivek's previous behavior. I think they have been given a little bit more of the reins. Let's see. Dave, personally, I'd rather have Kevin come off the bench. I'm with you 100%. BJ hopping back in. Huerter needs to come off the bench and work against second stringers. Completely agree, my man. Patrick, he is off the clock. Yes, sir. If Keegan takes another jump, we can be Western Conference contenders. So Keegan, it's been a good question. Can Keegan still develop properly with DeMar DeRozan in Sacramento? To me, the answer is yes. But I think you are now putting Keegan back into his comfort zone. But you have now turned him into, or I should say, he has turned himself into really the defensive leader of that team. He is the one taking charges. He's the one always. Keegan Murray is rarely and I mean rarely, out of position defensively. And that is rare for a second-year guy. So defense, here's the other thing. His offensive game does not affect his defensive game. If he's not getting shots, he's still the same defender. Doesn't go the other way, which I really like. I'm going to get to Alex really quick so I can get a sip of something so my voice is raspy. Alex, man.
What's going on right now? How you doing?
Doing great. How about yourself?
Pretty good, pretty good. So I did like that optimistic King speech that you gave, because I for one, I'll be honest, I go up and down with how I feel about the team. Even though I know it's still pretty early, I still just, I worry about those still the same things about before, the size, athleticism, all the above. But your optimism did give me some confidence, I guess you can say, for today at least. I might think differently tomorrow. But I did want to ask, you said you watched the UFC this week. What did you think of it, since you don't watch it all the time? I think you're muted right now.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you, brother.
No problem.
I thought it was pretty good. I thought the crowd did well, considering the time of day it was. The Tom Aspinall, right? Is it Aspinall?
Yes.
I loved that fight. That was great. How he came out and knocked out. Is it Jenkins that he knocked out?
He knocked out Curtis Blades.
Blades. That's it.
Yeah.
So that was good. The main event wasn't as great, but overall, I thought the card was pretty good. How about you?
Yeah, no, I thought it was pretty good also. Now, for casual fans, the entire card probably wasn't super good because there was a point where there were 7 straight decisions, and that's just not good for the casual eye. Unless like I said, if you're into the intricacies of jiu-jitsu and wrestling and all that, then you can enjoy it. But when it's 7 straight decisions, even somebody like me that I'm balls deep in MMA, it's very difficult at times. But overall, I thought it was a decent card. I think next month's card should be a little bit better, and especially in September when they bring it to the Sphere, it'll be the first UFC event at the Sphere in Vegas. That's going to be fantastic. But I won't go on a giant MMA rant. I'll just I was just curious about your thoughts on the card.
Yeah, no, what was I think his name's Patty. Is it? No, is
Patty,
it
Patty the Batty Tremblay, yeah.
Yes, I loved how he transitioned and got that tap out. That was, well, it wasn't tap out. He put the guy to sleep. I thought that was the best fight and the best finish.
Well, so Patty, and again, I'm not sure how much you know about MMA. I know you said you watch it every so often here and there, but so they're trying to basically make Patty their new Conor McGregor. He has a giant fan base. People wear wigs and stuff, just like him.
Yeah.
He's a crazy guy. He's a great entrance. So, that win was big because even me on my preview for the card, I thought he was going to lose. It's his first legit fighter he was going against, because he was just kind of fighting against unranked guys for a while. But Bobby Green, that guy he just beat, that guy's legit. So now I think they're really going to put the rocket on Patty because he kind of handled him pretty easily.
Yeah, he had nice swag. I enjoyed his swag. I liked how he sounded. I liked how he fought. It was a lot of fun. So for that type of card, I was still pretty impressed. So it's good to hear that from you as well about the finishes.
Yeah, no, 100%. And then you mentioned Tom Aspinall too in the co-main event. That guy, regardless of what you hear, he's the best heavyweight in the world right now. Even though he has an interim heavyweight title, the heavyweight title I think is going to be defended. The actual heavyweight title will be defended in November with John Jones and Stipe Miocic. But those guys are both very inactive, have fought once in the last 3 to 4 years, have barely fought, and they're also very old. But the UFC is marketing that fight as the main heavyweight fight because it's to appease the casual audience. Most people know who John Jones is and Stipe Miocic. They've seen them since they were, younger, 10 plus years ago. But Tom Aspinall, nobody wants a piece of that guy. He's the best heavyweight in the world, bar none.
So 2 things really quick, Alex. The first is I have no confidence, none, that John Jones is going to get to a fight without being hurt or failing a drug test.
Yeah.
It seems like it's one or the other. The second question is, why would they not jump straight to the champion versus the interim champion?
That's a great question. And I was kind of thinking the same thing. And I think because John Jones is such a big name to the casual audience, and just like not just the UFC, but any entity, any enterprise, any business, the casuals make you the money, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The hardcores know who Tom Aspinall is. They know he's undefeated. They know he's best bar none heavyweight in the division, but he's a very quiet guy. He doesn't have a patty personality. He's not a guy that's in the news like John Jones. He's not a hoorah guy like Conor McGregor. He's very keep to himself. Even his call out of John Jones, he said, hey, I'm the best, and he didn't even make it a big hoorah type call out. So the thing with I told you before, UFC has blended with pro wrestling a lot. You have to have the skill, obviously, but you have to have that it factor, the Conor McGregor swag, as you said, that personality. And Aspinall doesn't have that, unfortunately, and that's why he's getting kind of left in the back burner. He's defended the interim title. I think this is his first time defending it. He's had it for a few years, so it's kind of weird to see. But Dana White wants to cash in on that last heavyweight fight of John Jones against Stipe Miocic, and it's just kind of it's just kind of awkward now. But as soon as that's done, everybody will know Tom Aspinall is the best heavyweight.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, man. Again, I'll see if John Jones gets to the octagon. I'll believe it when I see it. It's interesting, really quick, the last thing I'll say.
Yeah.
I know WWE is going to be watching carefully with what UFC does with the spear.
Oh, big time, big time. And, I also, too, think about that because, WWE switched, what was it, like a year or two ago, Ry-doe, where they switched from Sundays to Saturdays? It's been like about a year and a half at least, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've seen that they do packages now because of TKO, of course, where you can go to Raw and a UFC event, and you pay for both, in some kind of lump sum package. I'm kind of thinking that maybe, I don't know if you think otherwise, that they're going to do maybe WWE switch back to Sundays, and because the UFC events are always Saturdays, where you can go to both and do like a 1-2 punch Saturday night, Sunday mid evening of a wrestling PLE and a UFC pay-per-view, because right now they're both Saturdays, so it'd be difficult to do that.
Yeah, some of the shows for WWE are Saturday and Sunday, the bigger shows. But yeah, they'll be doing packages for sure. In fact, WrestleMania is coming to Vegas, so who knows? I know they're going to be watching that spear thing closely, even though
100%. That's going to be fantastic. And then last thing, you were talking about fantasy football. I've been listening in and out. If I had to recommend one pick, I say Tyreek Hill. Even if you're the number one pick, if you have the number one pick, I know the sexy picks Justin Jefferson and Christian McCaffrey. Dude, Tyreek Hill won me my league last year. He had so many explosive games.
So many.
Ridiculous. Just 40 burgers. Even I think he had a 50 burger one time. If you play PPR, that guy's ridiculous. Now I know he's in his 30s now, but you can't teach speed. That's just one thing you can't teach, and that guy's like he's a burner. That guy's ridiculous. I don't know how if you also play fantasy. I know you did the pick'em leagues too, but you said you do fantasy too, right?
I'm getting back into it, like regular fantasy this year. I did like a last second sleeper league last year, which nobody took very serious. But yes, this year I'll be back into it.
Fantastic. Well, good luck in your league. I know you're wrapping up the show, and I'll talk to you soon, man. Have a good day.
For sure. All right, that is Alex killing it on the phones. I appreciate the UFC update there for sure. Let's go straight to Zach. Welcome in today, Zach. How are you?
Hey, I think when you mentioned about the whole thing that like some people are looking at the Kings as underdogs, I think that's actually could actually play in their favor. Now, the West will be tough. But that could actually help possibly prevail them into a top 6.
Oh, I'm 100% with you, Zach. I think you're spot on. I think it's different from last year. Now, we've heard about other teams openly say, or players from other teams talk about wanting to come in and not let the Kings light the beam and all that. And DeMar talked about wanting to light the beam now that he's here in Sacramento. But I think now that we've had a full season of that, it's going to kind of fade away. And yeah, I think that people will not take the Kings as seriously as they did last year to start off the season.
As we've watched like Kevin Durant, Stephen Curry, Paul George at their age. Do you think like because like as far as DeMar DeRozan, like do you think we really only have one legitimate good year, and then after this year, it's just going to be kind of just average DeRozan? Because I feel like that's what I feel.
I don't. And certainly we could all be wrong, but DeMar this season, he'll be 35 when it starts. His last 5 seasons, or let's go 3 seasons, he's played 76 games, 74 games, and 79 games. So I think in last year, 24 points, year before that, 24 and a half, and then the year before that, 27.9. I think he is actually going to thrive here in Sacramento. I don't think he's ever played an offense like the Kings run with Dome. And 2 of them are going to elevate other, and I think they're going to, in turn, bring their burn rates down, which means you're not going to have to go too heavy to one guy or the other. So I think DeMar's set up, if he stays healthy, to have some really good seasons. He's not going to have MVP seasons, but I think he will definitely be scoring at least 22 points a night.
And I was just you and Grant will probably talk about this later if you have a show.
Yeah.
I don't watch football religiously like I do basketball, but I'm sure you guys will talk about it. What is it about Jordan Love's contract? It makes no sense.
You know what, Zach? It is a very good question. And it's a gamble that you run, and Green Bay has been pretty damn good about this. Remember, this is like only their 3rd quarterback in 30 years. But anytime you sit a guy behind a tenured starter, you have to realize that investment in them, in order to make that investment pay out, you're going to have to pay the man because their contract's going to be coming up. So, I mean, he had 32 touchdowns last year, 11 interceptions, played really good in the playoff game, had maybe the hottest second half of the season out of all the quarterbacks. But I'm with you, man. It's one of those corners where who else are you going to turn to? And, you got to pay the guy or you got to start over. So it's the going rate. Unfortunately, quarterbacks, I shouldn't say unfortunately, fortunately for them, Tua, he got paid big time. It's that classic. The Giants were in this corner just a couple of seasons ago with Daniel Jones, and luckily they structured it okay to where they could get out after this season. But it's where the league's headed. If you have shown half a bit of promise and the team believes in you, regardless of the sample size, you're probably going to get paid.
Yeah. And you coming off of sickness? You felt sick like the last time on Friday or whatever.
Yeah, I have been fighting a virus for about the last week, but I'm on the downhill side of it. Appreciate you asking.
For sure.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you, Zach.
Sure.
That is Zach. Yeah, I did go to get checked out, by the way. Not pneumonia. It is not what my son had, so we are good to go. Hey, y'all, make sure, by the way, that you come back here in a little bit. We're going to hop off just a few minutes. Grant will be here. Open Forum Monday with Napes. Ask him anything that you want. I think Zach brings up an excellent point. I've been having this conversation all day, or actually all weekend, in my head. It's like, where is this headed with the NFL? Because if you pay the quarterback that much money, it's only so much you have left for everybody else. And now this Brock Purdy thing, it's like everybody that's a 49ers fan says you've got to pay Brock. The sample size is there. He's a winner. But you wonder, these Ayuk extension, the Trent Williams extension, you wonder how much the Brock Purdy contract and or extension that has not happened yet is figuring into these things, because you might not have the money, and hell, you got to be able to protect the guys too. And I'm with Zach. I don't know how to explain how Jordan Love has moved up to list to be making $55 million a year. It's either going to pay off or it's not. I'll say this though, in comparison to Tua, if you're going to go off of potential, I think Jordan Love is probably the better deal. I think we have seen the most out of Tua. So, and Haunted Horse, by the way, I see you honking your show. Right I see you honking your show, trying to solicit guest hosts in the chat, Haunted Horse. This is If You Don't Like That, not the hunt. I'm just kidding, buddy. Do your thing. Go check out Haunted Horse show as well. But make sure you're here at 5 o'clock. Grant will be back. And also, huge thanks to our family out at Bennett's Westside Grill in Rockland. We are brought to you today in part by Bennett's. Make sure you go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com. You can find out more about their other locations. If you checked out Bennett's this weekend, you know they had prime rib Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Saturday, Sunday brunch as well. If you want to make it out after Grant's show tonight at 5 and before Grant and I come back at 8 to Bennett's, get out there. It's Wine and Dine Monday, $69. Get you 2 entrees and a bottle of wine. And we're talking good entrees on that list as well. Also, on Bennett'sRestaurants.com, you can get gift cards, learn more about their to-goes, and book reservations. Huge thanks to Bennett's Westside Grill in Rockland, located in the Blue Oaks Town Center. All right, that is it for us. What a fun day. Good conversation, y'all. I appreciate everybody participating. Covered a lot of ground. Kings, Olympics, some NFL, some fantasy, even some MMA. So a lot of fun. We will be back tomorrow. Jerry Reynolds Tuesday, as you guys call it, Chicken and Dumplings Tuesday. By the way, probably if you want to find Jerry right now, you could probably find him over getting his chicken and dumplings that you know where. I'm not going to say the place because Bennett's is sponsoring this show. But Jerry joins us every Tuesday. We will talk USA basketball. We will talk Kings. We'll ask him about his confidence level and where he rates the roster from 1 to 10, both of those spectrums. And it will be a lot of fun. Make sure that you are subscribed as well to the Kings Court. Morning shoot-arounds will be coming back shortly. Also, we're going to be giving away that Malik Monk jersey soon. We are getting really close, and I mean really close, to 1,000 followers on the X. Do me a favor. If you aren't already following me on the X, scan that QR code, give me a follow. Also give you the links to Spotify, podcasts, and more. And that's where, once we start back up the morning podcast, you will be getting this show and the morning shoot around as well. Those during the seasons are a lot, and I mean a lot of fun. We break down the night before, break down the game, so a lot going on there. But thank you if you're already subscribed. Check that out. And don't forget, make sure that you come back here at 5 o'clock. Open forum with Grant, and then 8 o'clock. Grant and I will be back together talking the weekend of sports. So thank you all very much. Make it a great rest of the day. What a great show. Fun stuff today. Thank you to all the callers. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Even you, the casual guy.
Holy moly, Jim Bowley.
Go Kings, like the damn beam. Stay away from Levine, as my boy BJ says. Court is dismissed.